It's an endorsement of an election that has strengthened ZANU-PF, but which its main challenger has described as flawed. ZANU-PF is leading with an ever-increasing margin. In its preliminary report, the African Union acknowledges irregularities and wants authorities to investigate. It's questioned the printing of 8.7 million ballot papers, 35% more than the number of registered voters, and significantly higher than international best practice. The AU also expressed concern about the high number of voters that were turned away and raised a number of issues around the voters' roll, including the failure by authorities to dispatch it in time for candidates to scrutinize, as stipulated by the law. But the AU says these irregularities are not enough to discredit the vote.
We do not believe that these incidences will amount to not the result, not representing the will of the people.
And from SADC, unprecedented caution. It's not ready to declare polls fair or credible yet.
These elections, and under the circumstances, have gone well. We cannot now say that there should be an idea of nullification. At what cost?
SADC has called on MDC leader Morgan Tsvangirai to exercise caution before reacting to the results. It says the mediation could continue between the two coalition parties to allow for a soft landing in the crisis. ZANU-PF has ruled out forming a coalition.
Anyone who is aggrieved can challenge that result through an application to the Constitutional Court. And the Constitution gives 7 days from the announcement of results within which to do that. So I wanted to invite Mr. Tsvangirai to please avail himself of these constitutional provisions so that he can get the remedy that he thinks he deserves.
Meanwhile, the MDC has rejected SADC's assessment of the poll.
We cannot accept results of an election which is unfair. We cannot accept an election which is not credible.
The observer mission bodies are expected to issue full statements after vote counting has been completed in the next few days. Shingai Nyoka, SABC News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Right, now we're joined in the studio by independent analyst David Monyae, who's been watching these elections carefully. David, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
So the AU mission says the elections are fairly credible and fair. SADC says free and peaceful, but the Zim election network says seriously compromised. What do we make of what's happened in Zimbabwe's election?
I think all parties have a case. Looking at the situation, one would say the entire elections were largely peaceful, orderly, free. It is the fairness that one cannot pronounce right now until the entire process is completed. And if there are any problems, I think the Zimbabwean system, given the fact that they have a new constitution, and the Electoral Commission also have mechanisms where complaints can be lodged and proper investigation carried out. And one is expecting that to be done after all announcements are made.
One gets a sense of shock at the moment because of the size of the victory if what's being projected comes out. The question I have for you is, how does a party like ZANU-PF come back from, I think it was 32% that they got in the first round of the last election, come back to win 70, 80%, whatever it is, more than 2/3 majority? What did ZANU-PF do right? What did MDC do wrong to have such a turnaround?
Firstly, Peter, I don't think we can go with the rumors. Rumors will just remain rumors. I think we have to wait until the entire counting is completed. But it really depends with what margins that President Mugabe will win by. What he has done well, I think, is to bring in Morgan Tsvangirai into government, to bring in the MDC, and also to agree to a larger extent to some of the demands made by his counterparts within SADC, as well as the AU, in terms of bringing peace and stability. I think that he has done quite well, and one is to give him. And also at a government level, what President Robert Mugabe did, and he did it quite wisely, was to give MDC problematic ministries. Home Affairs, if MDC complains about the registrar, it was run by MDC. The finance and the failure in terms of lack of resources allocations, it was also run by Tendai from from MDC.
Right.
So that in it, he managed to outmaneuver his.
Sadly, we're running out of time, but very briefly, can ZANU-PF go it alone? They're threatening to dump the MDC. Very briefly.
I don't think he can manage to do that. For peace and security in Zimbabwe, he needs MDC for credibility.
Okay. All right. David Monyae.